Hi,
Hey guys. Shaman,
Yolanda,
partners in life and business and the connected relationship.
and the connected relationship. Yeah. So, what happens when you are partners in more than your relationship? You have a romantic relationship,
Right. I mean, I
you
think,
have a business relationship.
right, this is this one's close to our hearts, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is, we're kind of speaking to us today.
We're married,
Right,
we're couples coaches,
right,
we're couples coaching couples, but then also, business owners who can offer support
right.
to other couples who happen to be in business together.
Right. I mean, so we're life partners, we're business partners. We literally spend so much time together.
We do, and we have a history of operating business together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this isn't our first rodeo of working together.
Right. So years ago,
Before Amazon.
before Amazon, we ran an online bookstore.
Right.
Yeah,
And that was a thing.
that was our introduction
I
to.
thought you were about to say that was our first failed business.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't a failed business. We ran the business,
Right.
and then Amazon came along and made things harder. And thankfully, that wasn't a business. That was kind of a side project. It was
Right.
something that we did together for fun. So there wasn't all the stress of that business paying the bills and stuff. But it allowed us a good foundation to work through some of the things that kind of came up, even in that.
Absolutely.
And then we co-found and co-operate Harper Therapy.
Right.
And then here is the connected relationship as well.
Right.
So, yeah,
So there's a lot of working together we do.
a lot of living together, a lot of working together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it always presents unique challenges.
Yeah, yeah. And over the years that we have worked together, there's some things that we've identified that have been super important and helpful for us. So the first one goes without saying: communication.
Absolutely.
Communication.
Yeah, you got to be able to figure out how to talk to each other, and then in ways that are relevant to what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right.
and helpful.
I mean, I
Yeah.
know it kind of sounds cryptic, but like when you're talking about business, you got to be communicating about business.
Right.
When you're communicating about your personal life,
Right.
it needs to be about your personal life.
But for us, and really just in general, it's so helpful to have a process of a way to talk through things, especially if there is a disagreement.
Right.
Making decisions.
Right.
So it's actually a process that we go through. So it helps to kind of turn down the intensity of the emotions that can go along with that.
Right, because and it's very hard to separate when you are a couple and you are business partners and you are in a relationship, a romantic relationship or a whatever, husband and wife relationship, or you're a couple.
Right.
It's very hard to separate sometimes your relational dynamics at work and your relational dynamics in your house.
Yeah.
Right?
So having that process to communicate, and then being clear about what hat that you're wearing. Like, are you wearing the personal hat? Are you wearing the business hat?
Right.
So just saying, hey, can we spend the next little while talking about this business thing? Or,
Right.
hey, let's kind of put the business stuff aside. Can we talk about this personal thing?
Right. I mean, and we have to really define those moments, right? Like last night.
I was
we were
thinking about that, yeah.
Sitting down, and she was working on a puzzle, and I think I was just hanging out watching TV. And I was like, hey, I need to talk to you about some business stuff. It's like, 9:30, something like that.
Right.
And
that's not our norm.
that's not our norm.
That's
like,
not our
we don't
norm.
normally try to cross our
Yeah.
personal lives into our business lives, but it's very hard to do when you're a couple and in your relationship.
Yeah.
And you're business partners and you're working on multiple projects all at once.
This was a unique situation
Right.
as well. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I was like, hey, I need to
Yeah.
ask you, I need to get some clarification on a couple business things.
Yeah.
And I had to start the conversation that way.
Yeah,
to
which
say-
I appreciated because it helped me to be in that mindset. Because
Right.
I was like putting my puzzle together. That was the last thing.
And then on the flip side of that, if you're not
Right.
willing to do that,
Right.
I have to be willing to go, okay, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Right.
you know.
Right. Well, so it's just having this process to communicate, kind of being aware of these different hats that we're wearing that can complicate things.
Absolutely.
Know when to be off the clock. So like you said, that was an exception. We don't typically.
No,
we
usually pretty good about work-life
really
balance.
hard.
Right.
We've worked really hard because it can look. When you have an entrepreneurial spirit, I mean, that is always there, right? It's hard to turn that off sometimes.
Everything's about numbers. Everything's about expanding the business. Everything's about
just
how we're
about
performing.
Processes and so we have been really we worked really hard at putting good boundaries around when we're off the clock, we're off the clock. Let's not let it intrude to every dinner conversation, that kind of thing, because
it's so
exhausting.
Easy
it's so easy
that,
for it to happen, but then it's exhausting, and then you run the risk of you're identifying your relationship with the status of the business.
Right, and that's a bad place to be.
And that's not a great place. That's fine if the business is going fine, but if the business has a downturn or life happens the way that life happens, COVID, then that puts your relationship on even rockier ground.
Absolutely.
So, it's really important to, continue to do that work to put the boundaries around, be off the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know there's much you can say about it, but it's very, very important.
Yeah. I think another one of the things that we've worked really hard at is just identifying our skill sets, identifying this is what I bring to our business partnership.
Right.
This is what you bring to our business partnership. The things that you do are not natural for, that they would take 10 times the effort, 20, 100 times the effort,
Right. And vice versa.
And vice versa. So we are pretty good about staying in our lane with those things.
Stay in your lane, man.
And just deferring to the other. Right. Just saying, hey, how do you see us handling this part of the business?
Right.
Okay, great.
Especially when you have a team, a staff, and a lot of people that, are always they could come to either one of you for any issue.
And even when that happens, we're like, hey, go talk to Shaman, or let's go talk, back and
or
forth.
let's all get together and go talk somewhere, or whatever. Let's bring the person in. But I mean, staying in your lane is really important because you each bring value to that business relationship, and I think it gets to be kind of important to honor that.
But on the flip side of that, there is also value to being open and receptive to your partner's kind of influence.
Absolutely.
Right? Because even though this part of the business is my area of expertise, there might be a way that you see things that is different than the way I see things, but it is super beneficial.
Absolutely. I mean, there's things I miss all the time that you see, and there's things that you miss that I see. It just happens, right? And then you can come to me and say, hey, I think we need to think about this because we're missing this. And it's like, oh yeah, or I mean, it usually isn't so easy. And he's like, but it's true. It's very true. And then there's things I'm like, hey, babe, we got to look at this. And you're like, yep, okay, let's figure it out.
Right. And I think it goes back to that generous assumption and us knowing that ultimately our common goal is the health and welfare of the business and, employees and that kind of thing. There's that general common okay, this is our common goal.
Right. And the common goal is, it's so interesting because the common goal drives your what brings you together, and sometimes in weird ways it drives what separates you, because you're like, no, I think we should do this because our goal is this, you know? And it's really important to be having that open door in your mind to say, look, I can yes, we're a team, and really that's the dual-edged sword of being a couple in business together. Is the things that make you great are also the things that
superpower kryptonite.
Superpower kryptonite are also things that help you struggle a little bit, because we tend to treat those relationships differently.
And as we're talking about this, I think for me personally, one of the things that is the most helpful for me in this regard is checking in with myself to see what my receptivity is for that. Am I closed and feeling tight? Or am I open and receptive? Right? And if I'm closed and tight, then you could tell me the $1 million solution to whatever problem,
Right.
and I'm going to be like, no, that's crap, we're not doing it, you know.
Right.
So it's just checking and setting that conversation up for success,
Absolutely.
like we just described you doing, you know, last night when we touched base with something. So, you know, that is part of the process of communication. That's part of the process to set ourselves up for success in communicating through these things.
Right. I mean, I think having an attitude of appreciation, or creating like a culture of appreciation, you know, around that is very important as well.
It goes so far, but it's so underutilized.
Yeah. Yeah, and it really is a good thing for a couple who is, you know, working together together
Right.
at home all the time,
Right.
they're working together. And,
Yeah. And so we try to be super intentional about appreciation and gratitude, you know, in our personal lives,
Right.
definitely in, you know, our professional lives in the business, and, you know, like, really thank you for taking care of that thing, because it
Right.
would, like, there's so many times I'm like, thank you for taking care of that, because I could have done it, but it would have taken me 20 times as long.
Right,
You know,
right.
we try to create that culture of gratitude and appreciation even on our team. So, you know, if there are any questions, like, starting with gratitude and appreciation is a good starting place.
Yeah, that's a great starting place, you
Yeah.
know. Hey, I really appreciate you.
Right.
Now let's
right.
talk about something hard.
Well, I mean, and there are plenty of, like, just, hey, I really appreciate you.
Right. I think what happens a lot when you are a couple who live together and work together and really make a lot of decisions together, you know, you tend to take for granted each other, and you tend to take for granted the relationship. And you've got to really be super focused on how important at the core of it your relationship is.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I think that air of appreciation plays into that. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm really honoring this.
Right.
This is important to me, and it's
Right.
important to us.
Right.
And this is, you know, I appreciate this.
Right.
Because ultimately you decided to do this
Right.
because there's some goal.
Right.
You want to work together. You want to, you know,
Yeah.
be in business together. I don't know why you're crazy, but
It's a unique kind of,
it is its own
challenge.
animal. I mean, it really is. But
Yeah.
it's also probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
yeah. So if you are in kind of that dual relationship, a romantic partnership, a business partnership, and any of this is sounding familiar to you, and you would like some support in your relationship,
Yeah.
right? Business and personal, in the way that they interconnect.
Right. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
And we are uniquely positioned to help you with that.
We are. You can set up a free consultation. Otherwise, it's good to see you. We will talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.